And one day after House Speaker Paul Ryan said that he would no longer be campaigning for Donald Trump, the GOP nominee lashed out on Twitter. In a series of tweets this morning, Trump wrote, "It is so nice that the shackles have been taken off me and I can fight now for the America the way I want to." He then went on to say, with the exception of cheating Bernie out of the nomination, the Dems have always proven to be far more loyal to each other than the Republicans. He then said disloyal ours, Republicans, are far more difficult than crooked Hillary. They come at you from all sides. They don't know how to win. I will teach them. Joining me on set is senior advisor to the Trump campaign, AJ Delgado. AJ, thank you for joining us. You know, noticeably silent from this entire series of events since the video came out has been his daughters. Why haven't we heard from them?
Well, I think they probably don't want to weigh in on this because it's a little bit delicate as women. I think they'll be criticized either way. We've already seen how much Ivanka was criticized by, for instance, Cosmopolitan because she didn't want to engage in what was clearly a hateful ambush interview. So I think Tiffany and Ivanka, as much as they stand by their father, they would be criticized either way, no matter what position they take on this. I think it's best for them to stay out of it for their own sake. We've seen the media can be quite cruel to them.
They've come out to help and bring women to the ticket to come and vote for him. Ivanka told our Norah O'Donnell, "My dad is not a groper." Does she lose credibility when a video like this comes out?
Well, he hasn't been seen groping anybody. He wasn't saying.
He said
He said that he can do that. He didn't say he did it. In fact, to my knowledge, Mr. Trump has never said he's actually done that, and nobody is claiming that he's done that. Nobody of any credibility. No story has come out saying that he does grope women. He was speaking, using hyperbole, speaking hypothetically, perhaps joking around. Inappropriately, yes, he shouldn't have made those remarks. He has said he shouldn't have made those remarks and apologized for them. But in no way has he said, I do grope women, or I do say that. It was just, unfortunately, some hyperbole that probably should not have been spoken.
But it is out there. How do you combat that when you weren't doing well with the campaign with women?
Well, I think we're hoping that women voters like me will focus on his record and on his policy positions. This is somebody who has a record of helping women, of elevating. His chief lawyer in the 1980s was a woman. The chief contractor at Trump Tower was a woman. His policy positions now are very pro-women. This is somebody who broke with GOP orthodoxy and decided, hey, I'm going to come out with a maternity leave policy and a child care policy for women. At his own risk, this was not a popular or easy position to take as a GOP nominee, and he did it anyway. So I'm hoping female voters will say, listen, I need to be selfish in this vote. What candidate is better for me? Whose policy positions do I like? Who has a better record on jobs? Working women care about jobs in the economy, as we should, and not base the vote on what was said 11 years ago, unfortunately, on a tape.
You know, so much of the Trump business is about licensing their name. Do you think that has somehow, this entire video has tarnished their name?
Well, that remains to be seen, but I would hope folks will separate the two. And if you don't like Donald Trump's policy positions, I would imagine that you might decide where to stay on a vacation based on different criteria. But I think Mr. Trump, this just speaks to what a great man he is. He knows that his business might take a hit. The kids know that the business might take a hit, but they're doing this anyway for America. That's what we find so inspiring and what motivates advisors and surrogates of his to keep putting ourselves out there as well, because we're inspired by what he's sacrificing and knowingly sacrificing for the sake of the country.
What do you say to people who see what feels like a bit of a civil war within the Republican Party, and they're looking and they're feeling like they don't identify with what the Republican Party would stand for?
Well, there has been a civil war going on for over a year, right? We were never really in line with GOP establishment positions. The GOP establishment position has become a pro-war, pro-amnesty position and pro-tax cuts solely for the rich. It no longer was a party of the little guy, and Donald Trump brought it back to that. So to those who cannot stand with Mr. Trump, I say good riddance. The American public and the working class is proudly behind him, and in him we have a champion. Look at someone like Paul Ryan. His big hang-ups are pushing amnesty and bailouts for Puerto Rico. Rena, do you think the average voter cares about that more than, say, trade deals and bringing back the jobs that we've lost in outsourcing? It's only Mr. Trump who's standing up for average, everyday Americans. And the GOP establishment long ago stopped doing that.
Do you think it's an issue now that he has been so aggressive on Twitter against Republicans like Paul Ryan? How is that going to affect not just the presidency, but those down ballot races?
Well, I think the down ballot races, they might be affected by it, but I think those tend to be pretty separate from the top of the ticket. We might see Trump supporters saying, listen, if those people on the bottom of the ballot didn't support Trump or came out against Mr. Trump, we might see them affected negatively. I don't think it'll have the reverse effect where Mr. Trump will be affected, but rather vice versa. Those who didn't support him might see the brunt of Trump voters' anger.
You're an attorney. You went to Harvard Law. You've worked in corporate America for Fortune 500 companies. You're a Hispanic woman. What advice do you have for the Republican Party?
Go back to caring about the little people, the everyday American, those that Hillary Clinton, as we've seen in these recent leaks, does not like to be identified with or doesn't care for. Go back to your real roots. The GOP establishment lost that. Donald Trump is giving you a chance to stand with us, to stand for everyday Americans, to stand for jobs in the economy, not for amnesty, not for unnecessary wars. You have a chance to stand with America and with the base. Please think of yourselves, think of your families, of your future, of the nation's future, and let's join together. Please support Donald Trump. Let's try to defeat Hillary. That's the real issue this election.
And it doesn't bother you, AJ, that these comments have come out showing that you're backing a candidate who has in many ways glorified sexual assault, whether he did it or not?
No, not at all, because I think I'm somebody who, like the great philosopher John Locke said, I found this quote of his that really just encapsulates how I feel. And he said, the best indicator of how a man thinks are his actions, not his words. And with Donald Trump, we have a man who has a decades-long record of supporting women, elevating women. We see that in his daughters. We see it in his policy positions. And that's what I go by, not what somebody said.
Okay, AJ Delgado with the Trump campaign. Thank you for joining us.